Humans never meant to create it. They weren't trying to build weapons. They weren't trying to invent guns. They were trying to do something far more human. They were trying to escape death. They wanted immortality. And in chasing eternal life, they accidentally created one of the deadliest inventions in human history. This is the story of how humans accidentally created guns, and how one mistake changed the world forever. For as long as humans have existed, we've feared death. Every civilization, every kingdom, every emperor, no matter how powerful, everyone faced the same terrifying truth. One day, life ends. That fear created obsession. People searched for answers, for magic, for medicine, for anything that could delay death. Kings spent fortunes searching for eternal life. Emperors funded impossible experiments. Entire generations chased immortality. And nowhere was this obsession stronger than in ancient China. More than 1,000 years ago, China was one of the most advanced civilizations on Earth. It was a land of invention, innovation, science, philosophy, paper, compass, printing. China was centuries ahead in many ways, but like every civilization, they feared death. Chinese emperors wanted power, but more than power, they wanted time, more life, more years, more control, because power means nothing if death eventually takes it away. That's where alchemists entered the picture. Alchemists were part scientists, part philosophers, part experimenters. They studied nature, chemicals, minerals, metals. They believed the universe had hidden secrets, and if those secrets could be unlocked, humans might live forever. Their mission was simple: create an elixir of immortality, a substance so powerful it could stop aging, prevent death, and grant eternal life. Imagine the pressure. Emperors demanded results. Kingdoms invested resources. Failure wasn't just disappointing, it could be deadly. So alchemists experimented endlessly, mixing strange ingredients, testing dangerous formulas, combining anything they thought might hold power, day after day, year after year. Most experiments failed. Some poisoned people. Others did absolutely nothing. But then, one experiment changed human history forever. Not because it worked, because it went horribly wrong. One day, during the Tang Dynasty, Chinese alchemists mixed 3 ingredients: sulfur, charcoal, saltpeter. At first, it probably looked like just another experiment. Nothing special. Just another attempt to discover immortality. But then something happened. The mixture ignited. Fast, violently, explosively. Fire burst instantly. Smoke filled the air. The formula exploded with terrifying force. This wasn't magic. This wasn't immortality. This was power, raw, violent, explosive power. The alchemists had failed. They did not discover eternal life. Instead, they accidentally created gunpowder, and they had no idea that this mistake would change the future of humanity forever. At first, gunpowder wasn't seen as a weapon. It was seen as something almost magical. Imagine witnessing it for the first time: a sudden burst of fire, a violent explosion, a bright flash lighting up the night sky. For people living over 1,000 years ago, this must have felt supernatural. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. So naturally, humans did what humans often do with powerful discoveries. They turned it into entertainment. Gunpowder was first used in fireworks. Festivals lit up with explosive colors. Ceremonies became more spectacular. Religious rituals became more dramatic. Explosions filled the sky with sound and fire. People were amazed. The Chinese loved fireworks. And for a while, gunpowder remained something beautiful, something celebratory, something joyful. But history teaches us one painful truth. Every powerful invention eventually attracts military attention, because somewhere, someone always asks the same question: how can this help us win wars? And once that question was asked, everything changed. It started small. Military thinkers began experimenting. What if this explosive force could be controlled? What if it could be directed? What if it could be used against enemies? The possibilities were terrifying. Soon, early gunpowder weapons began appearing. Fire arrows. These weren't ordinary arrows. They carried explosive material. When launched, they burned violently. Imagine being a soldier seeing that for the first time. Instead of arrows silently flying, fire screamed through the air. Chaos, panic, fear. And that was just the beginning. Then came bombs. Simple explosive devices thrown into enemy formations. Primitive, crude, unpredictable. but devastating. Explosions created confusion instantly. Battles changed. The battlefield was no longer just about swords and muscle. Now, fire had entered war, and fire doesn't fight fair. Then came one of history's strangest weapons, the fire lance. Think of it as the ancestor of the gun. It was basically a spear with a tube attached to it. That tube was filled with gunpowder. When ignited, it blasted fire and fragments forward. At first, range was limited. It wasn't accurate, it wasn't elegant, but it introduced something revolutionary. The idea that explosive force could launch objects at enemies. That idea changed everything. Because once humans realized this, there was no going back. The fire lance evolved. Tubes became stronger, explosions became more controlled, projectiles became deadlier, and slowly, the first true guns were born. China had created gunpowder, but powerful ideas never stay in one place forever. Trade routes connected civilizations, merchants moved goods, travelers exchanged ideas, armies carried technology. Eventually, gunpowder spread beyond China. It reached the Middle East. Military engineers quickly recognized its value. They improved formulas, improved weapon designs, improved battlefield applications. Then it reached Europe, and that's when everything accelerated. Because Europe at the time was a continent built for war. Kingdom fought kingdom. Empire fought empire. Power changed constantly. And when Europe got gunpowder, innovation exploded. Literally, engineers saw potential immediately, not just for small weapons, for something much bigger. Cannons, and cannons changed war forever. For centuries, castles symbolized power. Massive stone walls, high towers, heavy gates, they were built to survive attacks. And they worked. Armies could siege castles for months, sometimes years. Walls protected kings, protected kingdoms, protected wealth. Then cannons arrived. And suddenly, stone walls weren't safe anymore. Imagine spending decades building a massive fortress, only for explosive metal balls to destroy sections of it in hours. That's exactly what happened. Cannons shattered walls, defenses collapsed, kingdoms panicked. The rules of war changed almost overnight. Structures built for centuries became vulnerable. Castles that once looked unstoppable now looked outdated. Gunpowder had destroyed more than walls. It destroyed old military thinking. And the revolution had only just begun. Cannons had already changed warfare, but they had one major problem. They were huge, heavy, expensive, slow to move. Powerful? Absolutely. Practical for every soldier? Not even close. Military engineers wanted something smaller, something portable, something deadly in a single person's hands. That idea led to the next evolution: handheld firearms. The earliest guns were crude metal tubes attached to wooden handles. Simple design, simple purpose. Load powder, insert projectile, ignite, fire. Sounds easy. It wasn't. These early guns were dangerous, not just for enemies, for the person holding them too. Misfires were common. Explosions happened. Weapons failed. Accuracy was terrible. Reloading took forever. And yet, despite all those flaws, the world had changed forever. Because for the first time in history, a common soldier could kill from distance using explosive force, not with years of sword training, not with elite physical skill, just with a weapon. That changed everything. For centuries, war was dominated by elite fighters, knights, samurai, warriors trained from childhood. These men spent years mastering combat, swordsmanship, horseback fighting, armor tactics. They were terrifying. A heavily armored knight charging at full speed was nearly unstoppable. Nearly. Then guns arrived. And suddenly, everything changed. A farmer with a firearm could threaten a warrior trained for 20 years. Think about how shocking that was. Entire military systems had been built around elite fighters. Now, gunpowder disrupted all of it. Armor became less effective. Swords became less dominant. Traditional warfare began dying. The battlefield was changing, fast. Skill still mattered, but firepower mattered more. And the more guns improved, the faster the old world disappeared.